Let's talk about the 4 stages of competence for life coaches. In stage 1, we call unconscious incompetence because this is where we don't know what we don't know. At stage 1, we may not even be aware that an opportunity for learning exists. If we are aware of the existence of some knowledge or skill that we don't possess, we may be unaware of a particularly good reason for acquiring that knowledge or skill, or of its relevance to us. Once we have recognised the existence of that knowledge or skill and of the benefits of acquiring it for ourselves, we are empowered to move forward to the next stage. A typical example of this would be learning to drive a car. The learning opportunity only becomes available to most of us once we reach an appropriate age. Before then, we are aware that a person can learn to drive a motor vehicle, but there's no significant benefits in trying to do so until we can usefully and legally use that skill. In stage 2, we move on to conscious incompetence, where we do know what we don't know. We've already recognised that there is a worthwhile learning opportunity, and therefore there is an area of knowledge or skill in which we are deficient. We can now begin to think about how we're going to constructively address that deficiency and move forward to competence. In the example of learning to drive a car, this is where we would book some lessons with a qualified instructor and start learning the highway code. Stage 3 we call conscious competence because this is where we know what we know. In stage 3 we focus on actually learning the knowledge or skills that we identified as being of value to us in stage 1. To learn effectively, we have to actively concentrate and consciously think about exactly what we're doing at every stage as we store the learnings that will enable us to make use of our new knowledge reliably, at will, and without resistance in the future. In the later parts of stage 3, we should be able to demonstrate the skill or knowledge to other people, but we may not be able to teach it well to others just yet. Repeated practice is the single most effective way to move from stage 3 to stage 4 in our example of learning to drive a car. Passing our driving test would be a good example of the end stage of stage 3. Stage 4 is known as unconscious competence, which is where we don't know what we know. That is to say, we become less consciously aware of what we know. And through continued practice, the use of what we know becomes second nature or automatic, and we move from being conscious to unconscious functioning. People who've been driving a car for a number of years usually demonstrate unconscious competence. All of the skills required to drive a car have become so entrenched in their unconscious that they may be able to do other things at the same time as driving. People may describe operating at this level of competence as operating intuitively or automatically. At this level of competence, we may find that we can effectively teach what we have learned to others. After an extended period, we may also find that as we do what we do in an unconscious, competent way, it has become so instinctual that we actually find difficult to explain it to others. This is why we must avoid complacency and periodically check for unconscious competence against new standards.